Good evening and welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Jake Gordon and Alex Lord. I promise you guys, I was not out to escape the embarrassment that was the LSU Tigers on Tuesday. I keep forgetting it's Wednesday. On Tuesday, I was not out for that reason. I was actually sick. But we're back, and we got some more bad news. It's on Michael Soroka. I mean, the poor guy just can't seem to catch a break. He leaves after 3 innings. I think he gave up 5 or 6 runs, a couple of home runs. He actually did. The stuff, actually didn't look terrible. Like, he struck out, I think, 6 batters in 3 innings. Like I've said all year, like, the stuff is still there. The command is not quite there. He's missing middle too easy, and you just can't get away with that against good major league hitters. But this is not even really about what we saw yesterday. It's about what came out after the game. He was forced to leave after the 3rd inning, felt numbness in his fingers. Alex, you did something. It's on the site, sportstalkatl.com. Go check it out. But Brian Snicker basically said, hey, I think this is a big deal. And when you're talking about numbness in the fingers and a possible arm injury, you're talking about maybe another year of rehabilitation. We very well may have just seen the last outing of Michael Soroka's career in the Braves. And who knows? I mean, we're talking about a guy now who's been through 2-3 major injuries in his career. Obviously, the 2 torn Achilles. And this could be another one. I know he's still young, but you really wonder, like, is this the end? And you hate to say it. You hate to say it because what he was. But this is something that happens in baseball a decent amount, especially with pitchers. And if this is another injury that's going to keep him out 12 plus months, you wonder how mentally he can take that again.
Yeah, it's sad too. I hope he doesn't end up the same way, but it reminds me a lot of, if you've been a Braves fan for a while, you remember the name Brandon Beachy. Guy was awesome for us. I mean, he just could not stay healthy. I think he had 2 or 3 elbow surgeries, a shoulder surgery, and it was just never going to happen for him. And as great as he was, it is something that happens, unfortunately. There's plenty of guys. Chris Medlin's another one that comes to mind. It's unfortunate. I hope he doesn't join that list of guys, but, it's starting to get to the point where you can't really expect much out of him. And I hate that for him, but, yeah, that's the way it goes.
Yeah, I saw something, I think it was from The Athletic. Charlie Morton addressed it, and obviously he was, his not condolences, the guy didn't die or anything, but he was sad. It was just text, and you could feel the emotion from it. And he said something about how Soroka changed his mechanics to prolong his career. And it seemed like, he was taking all the necessary steps to, maybe return to just a productive major league pitcher, not even what he was, just being a productive piece of a major league rotation. This sucks a lot for him. If there's one guy in terms of resilience that can take it, it's Soroka. I mean, 2 back-to-back Achilles tears would sideline somebody like a normal person for the rest of their lives. He's not a normal human being. So if there is one guy who can take it in stride and maybe come out the other side of it, it's Michael Soroka.
I will say too, I remember, like I said, this is cart before the horse, but I remember when they brought him in the broadcast booth, he did a really good job. So he obviously understands the game very well. He obviously understands pitching very well. So I think there could definitely be an avenue for him if this is the end of the road. But hopefully it's not.
Yeah, I mean, we see Chris Medlin. I mean, you just mentioned him. He's starting to get involved in this. I definitely think Michael Soroka is a lot of that avenue. Hopefully, we don't have to talk about that for a little while. I definitely think he's going to give it a few more shots. Like, I don't think he's just going to retire.
He should.
Of course, we're also talking about, like, we're just assuming the worst, that this is going to be like something that keeps him out for 12, 18 months or something like that. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's something that just needs to shut him down for the rest of the season. It's not like he was going to make a ton more outings. This might have been the last we saw him the rest of the season. I still think, if he can be healthy, if he can be back next off or, by spring training next time, there's still a chance for him to make an impact on this team. Let's hope that is what happens and nothing more comes of it. But when it comes to this guy and it comes to injuries, you just kind of assume the worst. And talking about the mechanical things and the stuff like that, I think a lot of that was about changing up the lower half of his delivery and stuff like that, focusing on, prolonging his career so he doesn't have another Achilles or something like that. You wonder if, mixing a lot of that stuff and going through all that maybe had a negative impact on his arm or something like that. We don't know. It's all just speculation at this point, but I mean, it just kind of makes you sick for the guy. Like, it gets to the point where it's like, dude, I don't even know what to say. And you do wonder if he's going to be a Brandon Beachy time. You do wonder if he can go through this again, because there's no guarantees, and as we've seen. But it just makes you sick. It makes you sick for the guy. And
Yeah, like you said, a lot of it's
really all
mental
I can
too.
say.
Like, even like just as much physically, like mentally, that's tough. I mean, it's not something that everybody can just go through, and you know, it's easy to be like, oh, he's just out for a little bit, and then he'll be back. Like that's just not how that works.
I would argue it's mostly mental, because it's not only coming out the other side; it's the journey to get to the other side. Rehab, I haven't had anything close to that serious. I tore an MCL one time, and the rehab was absolutely brutal. I can't imagine an Achilles tear, or for a pitcher something serious with their shoulder or with their elbow. I mean, that is more mental than anything. Is
It's a
just
lot of like anxiety too. Like, am I ever going to be able to do? Am I going to be able to play again? Am I going to be able to do what I love? Am I going to have a job? Like, you know, I don't think a lot of people take that into consideration. I still think there's a lot of people that probably think that Mike Soroka is some guaranteed roster lock at this point, and as much as I hate it, that's just not the case right now. Uh, I'd love for him to come back. I kind of hate how we're talking about him like he's dead right now. Like we're all being very somber, but
But it is.
I mean, I'm trying to be serious. Yeah, exactly. Like it's not really a joking matter, but yeah, no, it is like that. Like, you know, these guys are wondering, like, you know, am I going to have a job? You know, is this going to be something I'm doing in 5 years? And that's tough, man. That sucks.
Well, Chase says it all the time that like baseball's a little different than other sports. Basketball's a little like that, where you watch them 5, 6, sometimes 7 nights a week, that you kind of like become like one, like your family. And I love that people are like, you're not on the team, don't say we. No, it's we. I give them so much of my time and money. It's we, that like I feel for them. Like I don't know him, never met him, but I feel for Mike Soroka on like a human level, that like I see him so much. I've seen him progress and like get down, get back up, knock down, get back up. That, yeah, I mean, it is sad. It's one of the more sad stories I've ever, as a fan, you know, unfortunately have seen.
Yeah, I mean, we watched this guy come up as a 19-year-old kid. Like, and before that, you know, he was 17, 18. If you're talking about farm system and stuff like that, I mean, you've been around this kid basically your entire life, covering him. You know how good of a person he is. You know how hard he's worked to get this point. You know how good he was. And now you're watching this guy who worked his whole life, his entire dream, just kind of vanish because of stuff that's out of his control. And you know he's doing everything possible to prevent these sorts of things from happening. And guess what? It just hasn't worked for whatever reason. It's nothing that he's done at all. And you're watching a guy, a kid that you watched up, his dream just kind of disappeared. And it's super sad. But coming up after the break, we're going to talk about another Braves injured pitcher. Kyle Wright looked very good in his third rehab assignment.